Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to the seventh edition of the Sai Dev Talks. I'm not here to welcome, just to cheer the team that has done such a fantastic preparation for this talk, and lovely preparation for this lovely topic. And I really look forward to a great conversation here. The real the real reason I'm so excited about today's call is because of it's about one of the most favorite words in my life, in my professional life, called fellowship. Right? A fellowship program is something magical. It does something magical to a youngster's lives. And if youngsters who are listening in get a chance, do take that as the most important stepping stone into your professional life. It really does something magical. The amount of responsibilities that are handed down to a youngster in a fellowship program is phenomenal, and it plays a great role in bringing out leadership qualities. And that's the topic of today's discussion. We have got two wonderful youngsters who have done the fellowship program, and they are being interviewed by another brilliant young brother of ours. Vedant and Ishaan have done a fantastic work in the preparation for this conversation, to bring out the essence of their their 1 year or two their years in the LAMP program. And Ashish will be interviewing them. And without further ado, I would hand it over to Ashish to take it forward formally. And all the best, Ashish. You have done a fantastic work preparing for this, and I look forward to a great conversation today. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible. Can I just get a heads up?
Yes, you're very much audible.
Yes, perfect. So, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And it's a privilege to have you here for our session today, where we are pulling back the curtain on one of the India's most unique opportunities for young professionals, and it's called the LAMP Fellowship. And also, it's just not about the LAMP that we're going to talk right now, but majorly we'll be talking about the LAMP Fellowship. But slowly we'll be also looking at the possible other opportunities that are available in the field of fellowships. Right? So LAMP is the short form of Legislative Assistant to the Member of Parliament. And, coming right into the discussions, as a student from TES and also currently researching a little bit, I've often seen how we in the academia are generally trained to always critique the policy, to find the gaps between what's written and what's happening on the ground. But I think like the two young men who are joining us today chose to do something different. They decided to step up into the dynamic world of parliament and be a part of the legislative process in itself. So basically, just from the classroom to the halls of the parliament. So now joining me are two accomplished individuals and former LAMP fellows. So first we have Ishaan. I'll just give you a brief, introduction to each of these fellows, while the detailed one will be pasted in the chat box, so you can refer there. So Ishaan, a seasoned development sector practitioner who has worked across public, private, and not-for-profit sectors. And he also holds a second master's from the prestigious Fletcher School at the Tufts University. And the next to him is the person joining him will be Vedant. Vedant is a research professional at Becker Friedman Institute at the University of Chicago, who has a master's of public policy and specializes in the intersection of law, economics, and public policy. And it's really a pleasure to have both of you here, guys. So welcome to this talk. And without wasting any time, let's directly jump into the session. So I've tried dividing the whole session into four major components, and where we'll be exploring how what got you into public policy, and a little bit of public policy, if you can break it down for the audience here before we dive into this. And towards the ending, probably we will open the floor for a couple of questions from the audience, so that we are encouraging engagement from their end too, right? So getting right into it, so I would call this chapter as the leap of faith. So Vedant, let's start with you. So can you take us back to the moment when you first heard about LAMP Fellowship, and what was it like so specific about this specific program that piqued your interest and made you feel that this was the path for you? You can possibly tell us a very personal story of realization that led you to apply for this fellowship. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ashish, and pleasure to be over here. Uh, I like to think that it was not a defining moment per se, but it was a culmination of, I think, years of training and having an interest in national politics and issues of the country. A very good habit that I had, that I developed during my school days, was to read the newspaper daily and just be informed about the world. So that was one. And around the time, uh, in 2021, when I applied, there was COVID, and we were under a lockdown. And that was also that was also the time when I got a chance to listen to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of amazing books on governance in India, in service of the Republic, if people are interested in knowing the name. So these were books that really shaped my way of thinking, and looking at outlook of the world. Most importantly, around that time, it was my brother-in-law who also informed me that there's this really nice fellowship, and you might be interested in doing it. I was a research assistant at that point, and I saw that it was a pretty nice opportunity, and I think it's really, the moment struck because there was years of preparation or years of interest that developed behind it. So I could grasp the opportunity in working for the country, for the parliament, and so that's essentially my story.
Okay. That's great. So I don't think it was essentially a career move that you were looking forward. Possibly, maybe it's just a personal decision, probably. And yeah, that's a powerful story. I'm uh, pretty well connected to. And now maybe I will direct the question towards Ishan. So maybe Ishan, can you like give a small breakdown of what is public policy, like so that our audience can get a overview of it? A really short one if possible, and then also coming from a different background. You said you had a lot of experience, like starting off in ICICI, and then you graduated from IM Indore. So what was your why? What narrative were you living in before this fellowship, and was there any defining moment or even that cemented your decision to take this leap? Is what we are interested to know, if you can break it down for us.
Sure, Ashish. I think if I were to segregate public policy, it would be easier to look at it with respect to the levels of the government. Think of all the decisions that governments are making at the level of the center, the state, and the municipality. And as long as you're working towards improving those processes, improving those laws, improving those rules, improving the systems and institutions that strengthen, that hold these processes, I think that would be what we would classify as public policy. So you can go sectorally, look at environmental, health, education policy, or you could go by tier at the central level or the state level or the district level. So that's how I view the sector. To your question on what got me into public policy, given my interest, well, um, similar to Vedant, actually, I had always been a very, very avid reader of news. I I can boast very comfortably that I have not missed a single budget speech for the last 15 years, listening to it live. So that was kind of my interest. And when I graduated from MBA, I think we were at that age where there was a lot of social and civic activism amongst my generation. There were a lot of people angry about a whole lot of issues, but I wanted to move beyond the anger somewhere and try to understand how do I go about addressing them. Okay, I'm concerned about climate change, but what am I doing about it? And to understand how these things actually work at a country level was very exciting for me. So when I got the opportunity to know about LAMP Fellowship, that I can do a deep analysis of Indian policy at the parliament level for one full year, that was very attractive for me at the point, because I knew that I had learned all those business and management skills, and now I had a chance to analyze everything that I was studying from a very, very different lens. So that's how I got there.
That's that's actually very interesting that you went through each budget speech, because more or less these days we live in a world where people read in shorts and make debates. So that's actually a very interesting and a fascinating way, where both of you were drawn to the same calling. And now it leads me to wonder about the reality of it all. So we have talked about why. Now let's get into the what. So the fellowship is often romanticized as but I know, from my own research, that the ground reality is often more complex, for sure. So this brings us to the next part of our conversation, that is the day-to-day reality. Like, so a common question, I think maybe let's give it to Vedant first. So what is it actually to be a lamp fellow? Like, I don't think the audience has yet got a sense of it. So maybe you can just throw some light on it.
Yeah, sure. Um, when you're a lamp fellow, you're mostly an individual researcher and an individual support to the member of parliament you're assigned to. Now that happens on a random basis. It's not that it's predetermined who gets to work with who. But regardless of who is working with who, the standard day is mostly geared around the parliamentary session. So a day involves researching, drafting matters, drafting parliamentary interventions, which until I did the Lamb Fellowship, I was never really aware of how many interventions that a member of parliament could put in, right? And that is so you're trained to do that. Goes without saying. So the core of the session is actually the core of the fellowship is actually centered around these 3-4 parliamentary sessions that we have every year. But apart from that, in the interim, when there is a break between sessions, you also get to network and uh, attend events, and also get to learn a lot about policy making in Delhi. And a lot of policy making happens to be centered around in Delhi for obvious reasons. And so to boil it down, I think the core of this thing is research, but then also it's also your own personal development.
Nice. So, even Ishaan, I think both of you were fellows at different points of time, right? So, possibly, I believe Ishaan was during the COVID period of time, if I'm right. Yes. So, I
Think
just
Vedant.
wanted to even see, yeah, even like how does the typical week or like a month look at you, and what are the recurring tasks? Maybe like how does the workload change when the parliament is in session?
It's actually quite difficult to predict that, because think of it as when we call LAMP legislative assistant to member of parliament, you are literally an assistant in all sense of the word. So if they need policy support at that time, you'll probably be drafting a lot. If they need research support, you'll probably be researching a lot. There may be days when you are just filtering through files and files of government laws and briefs to find out data that might be helpful for the next research that you're doing, right? The member of parliament I was working with was additionally a national spokesperson for the political party. So there were also a lot of media briefings that we were engaged in on a daily basis. But the workload really fluctuated because our mandate was very clearly to only focus on policy work. So when the member of parliament was busier doing politics. Back at the constituency or at the state level, they had to make a lot of their visits. At that time, my workload would be a lot more um, random. I would say suddenly a call would come in that boss needs this research right now. So suddenly I have 30 minutes to turn around a full research brief. But otherwise, I'm free for the rest of the day. So it used to be very exciting also because of the unpredictability of it. There were times when we got to attend committee meetings of the parliamentary standing committees. Um, so there were definitely those few opportunities for you to see how members of parliament interact with each other as well. You're not just interacting with one MP, you are watching their interaction with the other MPs, which is a completely different eye-opening experience.
Wow. Oh my God. So that actually paints the rhythm of this role. And I think like at a very young age, probably I think it's about 25, right? The
Upper ceiling.
Yeah, the
Yes.
eligibility for this role, right?
You
So
have to be up to 25 years of age.
okay, wow. And you're going through so much pressure, day in, day out. And I think now coming to the next important
Uh,
question, yeah,
Hi,
go on.
Ashish. If
Yeah.
I may just add to
Yes, yes,
Ishan's
please.
point of the committee
Go on.
meetings. So I mean, as much as you think that you're researching on a variety of topics, you might believe that there's no depth to it. But if you actually work and sit on the issues that the committees are deliberating on, you definitely need to read a lot for sure. And the quality of discussions at the committee is not what you usually see parliamentary debates engage in. You know, what is telecasted is maybe a snapshot, but committees really deliberate, and you really have to not just know the nation's laws, but then also. I was working on police reform, right? So then police is law and order is a state subject under the Indian Constitution. So you had to read through a lot of stuff that you were not aware of too. So there's a depth component to it as well, and not just the breadth of topics that you do when the parliament is in session.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds that you've probably spent sleepless nights over, different topics, right? So yeah, so then just moving on into the next question, like it's directed to both of you, is in such a demanding environment, right? How 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 does success look like? Like, can you probably share a specific story about a small victory you have had? Because see, I don't think you're in a position to actually rewrite the whole policies, right? But you can surely contribute towards the constructive criticisms, maybe, right? So maybe a time where like you felt a genuine sense of accomplishment from a research task you completed, no matter how minor it seemed. So maybe you can just uh, go on with some specific episodes that you've been through. This can actually give us a sense of the success component of it.
Sure. I think I can take that one, and Vedant would have his own story, I'm sure, to add as well. Um, So when you are working with a member of parliament, as Vedant mentioned, there are multiple parliamentary interventions that an MP can do. These include questions that are raised to different ministries. These include matters of urgent public importance that are raised. These include parliamentary debates as well. So I think there was those small victories a lot of times when suddenly there would be a controversy in the media that this MP asked this question and suddenly the government doesn't know what to do. There would be those headlines, right? BJP MP questions BJP government on why is this thing not happening? Or alternatively, you would write a you would so one day this happened to me. I was coming to office, I was driving down to office, and there was I avoided a very nasty road accident because there was a couple on a two-wheeler that was not wearing any helmets and didn't have any rear view mirrors. So as soon as I reached office, I narrated that to my member of parliament, and we immediately wrote a letter to the police commissioner of Delhi. And after that, for 1 month, there was a road safety campaign where the Delhi police was checking cars at random and asking them to make sure that they're wearing the rear seat belts as well. They were stricter around that time on with two-wheelers on how they are driving without rear view mirrors. So I think those were two of the things that come to my mind in terms of small victories. There were many such examples, but I'm curious to know what Vedant has to say about that as well.
Yeah, sure. My victories were not dime a dozen, but I remember two instances clearly. One was, so when the budget is passed in February, there is also an interim budget that happens, right? And that happens later on during the year. If there's any program that needs more funds, or if money has to be apportioned in a different way, so they bring out the interim budget. Uh, Now, uh, I'm not sure of the name. It's not interim budget for sure. There's a more technical term to it, but
Supplementary budget.
yeah, supplementary budget. Yeah, thanks, Ishaan. Yeah. So at that time, I was, I mean, usually used to interact with my MP on a daily basis, and I did ask him whether he was going to speak that day. And he said, "Well, I'm not speaking, but just give me your materials." I did not expect much, but then there were a couple of issues that I really wanted to highlight over there, and that was a lot to do with fertilizer subsidy. And so I'd done my own research, and the night before I briefed my MP, I did not have any expectation. But next day, it turns out when I was, that's also part of the job that you sit and watch parliamentary proceedings. I was surprised to see him open the debate, and it was for a brief moment of 1 minute 42 seconds. He covered all the points that I wanted to mention to him. I made the brief very concise because he said he was not going to speak. But for the 1 minute 42 seconds, I think he spoke, and later on he told me that it was a special request that he made to the chairman of the Rajya Sabha to actually make that short talk. You know, so that was one, and then ultimately there was this final moment. So April 1st was the last day of the fellowship. And the last day of the fellowship also is by definition the last day of the budget session, right? So you have the monsoon session, you have the winter session, and then you have the budget session. Now, I'd written a bill. I'd worked for about 3-4 months on writing that private members bill. I worked with another friend, and we'd come up and done something solid. And I asked my MP whether you're going to introduce the bill. So private member bills are not discussed, but they're at least introduced on the floor of the House. Now, my MP told me that day that he was going to go outside. He was going to visit some other state, Rajasthan. He had his own personal matters, and I was like, okay, that's fine. In the next budget session, if he introduces, or next monsoon session, if he introduces, that's fine by me. But then he actually came back all the way from Rajasthan. Uh, so the way the proceedings proceed is the introductions of the bill take place, and then they start deliberating on a private member's bill. And it was in midway that he actually came and introduced the bill and asked the chair for special permission to introduce the bill. And I'd given up hope, but then and I stopped watching the parliamentary proceedings. But then my friend rang me up and said, he just introduced the bill. I was pleasantly surprised. But I think more than a victory, it was a personal victory for me. So
Yeah, that's. I mean, your hard work doesn't go in vain, anyways.
yeah,
So it's like it's in like from your stories, right? Like it's incredibly dynamic and rewarding at the same time. These such jobs. So maybe a little bit getting into my own understanding of it. Suppose like if I take my own work on policy implementation, I know surely there is a flip side, right? So there is a flip side to everything, and that's where I'm getting into the next component of this whole discussion is the challenges and the growth. So the long hours that we're talking about, the ambiguity, the pressure, so let's talk a little bit about that. So we have heard about the victories right now. So now for the reality is of the challenges. So the fellowship is, I'm very sure it's very intense, and as like we've already been seeing that the workload can be very fluid. right? So, Ishan, I would direct the question to you is what has been the biggest challenge for you in this whole process? And maybe you can tell us about a time when the unpredictable nature of the work you just mentioned, like, so just taking it from there, maybe that unpredictable nature of work, a tight deadline, or like an unexpected request pushed you to a new level. So, how did you navigate that moment, and what did you learn about yourself more in that situation?
So in terms of a personal challenge, I think for me the hardest time during Lamb Fellowship was actually not during Lamb Fellowship. It was during COVID. Lamb Fellowship had ended. COVID had hit. The budget session had been closed prematurely, and the MP I was working with was a national spokesperson. So, as a national spokesperson of a major political party in India, you are expected, especially during those days of COVID when everyone was at home, you were expected to attend at least 5 to 7 media interviews, those prime time television channel debates, media debates every day. And for each and every debate which was happening, let's say 1 hour, 2 hours later, and then another 2 hours later, we had to recount the COVID toll by state and by city every single time. So in the morning, there's 100 people dead. In the afternoon, there's 200 people dead. In the evening, there's 500 people dead. And that was every single day for a good 2 3 month period. And I think at a point of time, it started getting to me. It started getting to me. I remember telling my MP that I'm so frustrated these days because there's not been any good news. I would rather listen to Rahul Gandhi say something in the media than talk about COVID numbers. That that was the point I had reached at that time. Um, but it's also a story that teaches you resilience, right? I mean, there are journalists that are doing this on a daily basis. There are researchers that are researching this at think tanks and at government bodies on a daily basis. We were just doing it for a couple of weeks. So it teaches you resilience when you are trying to overcome mental barriers and do your job irrespective of whether times are good or bad. When times are good, it's easy, right? If it's a fun debate, everyone likes to do. Everything's great. But if it's a topic that you are scared to discuss, and that can come in many ways. It can come in serious ways like public health emergencies. It can also come in ways when you are in a state assembly election results are announced and your party has lost completely. And suddenly the MP has to go up on the TV and listen to everyone talking about, oh, what did you do wrong? Uh, those days are also hard because everyone in the office is depressed. Everyone in the office is like, I don't know what to do. You can't say the truth out honestly at that time in the media. So I think um, mostly it was fine. It was only during COVID when I felt particularly stressed. But then MP was very, very supportive, and so was everybody else. And I think we eventually got used to it. Unfortunately, I think we did get used to the numbers after a point.
Okay. I mean, there is literally no point of you coming to, like, a position where you just say, I give up right now. I don't think that is quite possible in such a situation. And
Yeah.
what about you, Vedant? Like, how like can you tell us more? What were your challenges, and what did you learn about yourself through these challenges? Like,
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. I would say I'm in a way lucky and unlucky as compared to what Ishan had gone through. Unlucky because I think their batch had seen through the best of parliamentary times. You had a lot of hot national topics being debated in the parliament at that point, so it had been really fun to prepare and learn more on that. But I'd seen past the COVID phase, and when COVID was subsiding, that was when I went to Delhi. uh, the biggest challenge for me definitely was learning law and the constitution and a lot of things related to the parliament. I had no prior training in that. And while LAMP does train you for a month, That was an age of no chat GPT, luckily. And you had to doing it on the go, like Ishaan mentioned, was a big part of the challenge. There were some days that I couldn't even tell my MP something that was that I could just summarize and give a brief overview. He would ask for very specific issues, very specific discussion points. So the learning experience through that was, I think, one thing that also got me through that all of that was an interest, like I said, and it just reinforced my interest, number one. And learning that I could meet any deadline was really the learning. Uh, there were times that I would stay awake the entire night and then sleep throughout the day, so that it's in consonance with his cycle. So yeah, those are the two learnings that I have for myself after that.
Like, I mean, that's really amazing, actually. It teaches you probably to be very grounded, is what I believe, right? So I think I just got a question from the audience, Ishan. Like, since it's around this, I think it would be nice if we take it up right now. So the question goes like, as a spokesperson, right? For example, if he would be asked to comment on the U.S. tariffs slash H-1B issue. Okay, suppose there is some kind. Right now, it's going on, right? So how would you prepare the talking points for that? Like, I'm giving you a scenario, so probably I think this is from a point of view, or maybe if you can just tell us how, if you can go through the whole journey as to how would you prepare points, and from where would you possibly get all the information that is needed for you to, like, uh, establish any kind of research. So the
Sure.
resources or any primary sources, anything, if you can just talk a little bit.
Sure. I think the good thing about the LAMP fellowship is the way, because we are relatively younger when we are doing the fellowship, and the MP is at the end of the day a member of parliament, right? So you are not briefing somebody, especially a national spokesperson, you're not briefing somebody who is unaware. You are briefing somebody who just needs to be updated for the most part. So within our office also, we had compendiums of, I think when I left in 2021, there were about 500 files, thick files on different issues. So every time there was an issue that we knew we had a file on, we would first open what was the last update that we had on that issue in that file. Um, on the spot issues, for example, the H-1B and US tariffs, right? Um, it's not like H-1B has not come up before. They have a broad idea of what challenges come up with the H-1B. On sensitive issues like US tariffs, we would get briefing notes on a daily basis from the party central office as well. There was a party research team that was also sending us briefs. But my job would be on a daily basis, look at some of the most prominent news websites, see what they're writing, remove all the noise, and just capture the single bullets, um, which are the essence of what everyone's saying. So my job would not be to actually give an analysis. My job would be to give a summary of what everyone's talking about. And the member of parliament is wise and smart enough and has enough understanding to be able to look at the summaries and then say whatever they need to say. We are there as assistants to member of parliament, and it is very nice when they take our inputs, but we are not there to influence the members of parliament, especially when the gap for me was that the member of parliament was a six-time member of parliament, so I could not really influence his thoughts.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, please go on, Vedant.
Yeah, I just like to also add to what Ishan said. W- well, you might have a notion that since the role is inherently political, that you have, and that is the outlook that I went to. You want to possibly give members of parliament a viewpoint that is in consonance with their party line. But I think it was on day one that my MP made clear that I really don't want uh, just a view that reemphasizes my own viewpoint and my party's viewpoint, right? So the briefs are as much as I mean, of course, there is a hint, like a talking point that would supplement their speech in the parliament. That is, of course, there you highlight that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, any briefing, any summary that you do is not, you don't put your political opinion on that. You're explicitly trained to not do that, and so do members of parliament not expect that as well. Now, it of course varies, but at the end of the day, they look for unfiltered and views from all domains
Okay.
and all persons. So I
Wow.
just like to add that.
Okay. Okay. I hope, like, this actually answered the question that. Yes, Satyajit, you have something to add to?
I'll no. I just wanted to paraphrase a question that somebody else has asked. That's my question too. Uh, uh, Satyabrata has asked, "Do LAMP fellows from the ruling party and the opposition come together to create a consensus?" That's a beautiful question, which is in sync with my question, which says, all along we have spoken about you as fellows, your aspirations, and your relationship with the MP. But what is it like to be in that group of fellows, and what are the dynamics with your fellow batchmates, and how do you see yourself as really uh, contributing to the democracy, or the functioning of the parliament? How do you see yourself as a group, not as an individual, but as a group? Any reflections on that, or any anecdotes about camaraderie with this thing, or friction with some other fellows? Something interesting.
Yeah, I can just speak to a brief bit on that, which is, well, there is a camaraderie that's there amongst fellows, and of course, if you're working with members of the same party, you support each other. If it's also like treasury and opposition, there are a lot of issues that you can share amongst each other. But there is a lot of camaraderie amongst MPs themselves, right? So the parliament itself, it's not like we have to be the consensus makers behind the scenes, right? They speak amongst themselves. It's not as bad as what people vilify it to be. uh, and the support really in terms of each other is a bunch of people that are around your age, that are maybe equally clueless, but that are also supporting you and helping you grow in that process. So, and this is a high stakes position, so I'd like to think that that support group is really essential.
There's also, I mean, there's definitely the peer-to-peer learning dimension that Vedant is talking about, and it's very, very critical because I may know some side of the story, and my friend who is working with a member of parliament from the opposition side would know another side of the same story, and we would debate and discuss very often with each other. It would inform both of our viewpoints, and probably we were able to learn a lot faster because of that. Um, I'll emphasize again that we were not responsible for influencing the MPs in any way. That was not part of our job description. We could not have, with the sort of gap that there is between our understanding and the MPs. However, there were times, for example, where lamps were interested in, and their MPs were interested in certain issues. I remember during our time, Gaurav Gogoi, a Congress MP, was leading some sort of an informal parliamentary discussion forum around clean air and the environment. And at that time, a lot of LAMP fellows got to know about it. So they spoke to their MPs about Gauravji leading this kind of initiative. And some of them on their own then spoke to Gauravji and became part of that initiative. So informal messaging was a very big part of how sort of the consensus building function was operating. It wasn't actually intentional, but it was underneath consistently across multiple issues and across multiple themes that we don't even consider are very relevant. A lot of the ways that this would happen was people would look at MPs who have talked about a particular issue 15 times. Let's say water sewage water treatment in municipal corporations. They have 15 times you've spoken in the parliament at some point or the other about it. So I make a list of all such MPs. Then I would post on my LAMP group saying who all are working with such and such MPs. We are trying to connect with them to form a joint sort of action on sewage treatment water. So the MPs would talk amongst each other after we would finalize who all are informally interested. So I think in that sense, it was definitely going on, not at a very large scale. I would say it would happen in small pockets, but that was definitely there.
So it's a lot of like, professionally, the communications that you establish, I think, probably, right? And like just to get a little away from like the serious conversations, how does it feel to like, walk down the walls of parliament, like, because I think probably it's not open to everybody, not every Indian, and so how does that feel like, you're walking down, you're attending parliament sessions, anything to add?
Uh, I want to jump in on that one quickly because I have a very clear. So, my MP was usually very commonly found in the Constitution Club of India. The Constitution Club of India has been in the news recently for its recent elections. And the first time when we went to the parliament, we were all awed, right? Oh my God, this member of parliament. Oh my God, that member of parliament. We were starstruck. Honestly, all of us were. But by the end of it, I think we had devolved to seeing MPs on a daily basis. And we were just like, yeah, this one is not my interest. That one is my interest. Oh, that one showed up. So there must be something going on. So there's definitely a level of normalization that happens after a time. And suddenly we start thinking of ourselves as MP staff, which is not actually true, but we sort of adopt that kind of mentality. Uh, and there were often arguments between different lamps at a funny level, right? About, oh, your MP is doing like this, I don't like him. No, 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 how can you say that? No, I will not tolerate this. So there were fun moments like that as well at a casual level, because we had seen so many MPs on a daily basis. We could afford to talk about it. Initially we were scared, but 5 months in we were very normal with it.
Wow, that's amazing. Like anything, what about you, Vedant? Like, any?
Yeah, I think Ishaan pretty much sums up the experience. Later on when MPs used to also host gatherings of lamp fellows, at that time, I mean, if there was some, I've disagreed with and spoken with MPs and told them that I might disagree with their point, and they might have thought of me as a precocious youth, but they did engage in my viewpoint, and they did offer it was an engagement that was not that, oh, I know more than you, so you have to listen to me, but they did actually engage with your viewpoint and say why they thought it was otherwise. So it has also come down to that, but I think Ishan's experience pretty much sums up all of it, that you're in awe at first, but then it's just normalized.
Normalization. Yeah. Okay, so I think probably we've seen different components, right, of this whole talk, and now like I would like move to the last part of this whole talk. Is I'm going to talk a little bit about the lasting impact that this has on maybe different components of your life and even the people around you. So and it's kind of a launch pad, like if you take it from it's like a 1 year launch pad. It's a 1 year fellowship, right? If I'm right, yeah, it's a 1 year fellowship, right? So Vedant, maybe how has this experience influenced your future career aspirations? Has your perspective on public policy or even like your path changed since you started? And what wisdom would you give to someone from a similar background, like you took up the fellowship post your bachelor's, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, how would you like maybe throw out some wisdom as to like people from similar backgrounds? How can it help them out?
So the background and the interest area that I can really speak to is research. I myself conduct research these days. I'm a pre-doctoral research professional, and my research is primarily in the intersection. It's primarily economics, right? So I study how firms and markets behave. But the one lasting impact from the Lamb Fellowship that I clearly see is my venture into work in the intersection of law and economics, right? So a couple of projects that I'm working on. One is studying the competition courts in India, right? Then the other is this is a more recent one. I'm just drawing a blank over here, but so what it fundamentally altered is it sort of course corrected the research topics that I was probably interested in, and also made me more of an applied economist, right? And then you get to learn a lot about the constitution, about governance. Then you see, then coming to the US was a different experience. You get to see a different form of governance, and then you try to study and assimilate the similarities or the differences, right? So I can primarily speak to that audience, and it definitely has made me more applied in the way that I just not be an academic in the ivory tower for sure. So thank you.
I think I remember I just had like a conversation in our last conversation with Ishaan. He was also pointing out as to the number of people that one MP is responsible for, right? That is, I think, huge as compared to what you're talking when you're bringing in the global picture, where like either US or any countries in the Europe. So, anything to say about this?
Yeah, so I speaking to that point, actually, the MPs in India are actually responsible for a bigger constituency than we would think. It is challenging. It is 2.2 million people. You know, I remember in one of the dining sessions, some MP told the group of us, well, you can't manage 4 people at home, and have to cater to 2.2 million constituents. The average constituency size in America is about 100,000 to 100,000 at max, you know. And so the average would be around that. And that's like about 10 times more than what, you know, members of parliament anywhere else in the developed world has to cater to, right? So that is a learning for sure. But then also like in terms of, okay, could we design some constitutional rules, but you know things like that on governance issues specifically is what I've gone and studied and taken a very keen interest towards.
I mean it's actually inspiring to see how this experience has shaped your trajectory. And Ishan, do you have anything to add to this point? And before maybe like I ask you the one final question, the last one.
Yeah, so I think for me, one big takeaway was that before getting into Lamb Fellowship, for me, policy was good policy or bad policy. Um, you know, just like we hear in the media, people are either criticizing it or supporting it. But after the Lamb Fellowship, I actually stopped talking about good policy and bad policy completely because I learned how the devil lay in the details. You pass a bill in the parliament. After that, there will be a notification issued for subordinate legislation. Those will be the rules and guidelines that the ministry will frame on the basis of a bill, which is essentially a one or a two pager sometimes. And that's happening right now with the so-called anti-corruption PMCM bill, right? People are talking about whether it's good or bad, but we don't know what the rules will be. The rules will come out after the bill has passed. The bill has to pass first. And so to hold your judgment and see what's actually going to happen and how that can either be contextualized better or manipulated for a political party's advantage adds a lot of nuance to how you are finding the solutions. As I'd mentioned when I had started, I came to Lamb Fellowship to figure out how do people find solutions to challenges. Now, at the end of the Lamb Fellowship, I learned how to figure out where the problems are and what direction to research in terms of finding those solutions. Of course, I've not reached as far as actually finding the solution, but it was definitely a big step forward in terms of my understanding of how things actually work in India, which was definitely something that I would obsess about on a daily basis when the fellowship was going on.
Wow. Okay, I mean, amazing. So, I think maybe let's just move on to the last question here. I can direct it towards Ishaan again. So, for someone who might not get, like, for example, if you're talking about age eligibility, right? Most of us are above 25 now, and you still want to get into any kind of fellowship or something to do with public policy, etc. Can you or even contribute to the policy in whatever levels that might be? So, like, can you like break it down for us if there are any other kind of fellowships that are available, that can be explored, and like, if you want to really make an impact in this field?
There are actually no, so the biggest difference that Lamb Fellowship has made to the country is that it was the first of its kind, and there ended up being multiple similar models after that. And these are at different levels. None of them are the same fellowship. Um Haryana government runs a very, very successful Chief Minister's Good Governance Fellowship. It's at the state government level. The financial support is significantly better. I think it's also for 1 to 2 years. You get attached to a specific department in a specific district of Haryana, and there you are doing very different grassroots level policy, which is a interesting example for people who are looking for an early flavor. There are fellowships like the YLAC. I'm blanking on the full name, but YLAC fellowships, they are usually a month long or 2 months long. um, Delhi government had announced under the Aam Aadmi Party government a fellowship which was later struck down, but I'm curious, maybe Delhi government will reinstall something like that. Different state governments actually have. Maharashtra has experimented with it. I'm not sure of the current status, but Maharashtra has experimented. Uh, Telangana under the BRS government had experimented. So there were a lot of such examples. Beyond that, now both Vedant and I are on the all LAMP group across the batches. On a daily basis, there are at least 2 to 3 members of parliament who have, via their former or current lamps, raised requests that we are looking for research interns, research associates, people who can help them on policy, very occasionally people who can also help them on media and politics. And this field is now filled with hundreds of people in the sector who have worked with members of parliament directly. So I think there are multiple opportunities. LAMP is just a sort of a symbol or a sort of a prototype of these opportunities that you have, depending on the time you can commit, depending on your interest areas, and on what level of government you want to function. If you search deep enough, it's very easy to find these kind of systems in almost the entire country today.
Okay. So, like, that's been really rich information. And, very quickly, I think we're getting short on time, but we can open the floor for a couple of questions, a few more. Uh, is anybody interested in asking any questions? If you can just probably raise your hand. Or, yes, Manoj, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have one question. The public gets to see a certain face of the politicians either when they meet them around their constituencies or the way they're portrayed in the media, right? But we probably don't know the many faces or many sides to a politician, and you get to work closely with them. And unfortunately, the picture that is painted at large is they're by default not honest and things like that. But I'm sure that's judgmental. So I would like to hear from any one of you. Uh, what are the brighter sides of being a politician? Yeah.
Yeah. So just to clarify, we don't get to see the politics side of it as well. It's not like people might be doing something in their own personal capacity, so we don't get a glimpse of everything. But like I was mentioning earlier, the politician's life in India is very constrained. The member of parliament is actually not responsible for potholes. That's something that has to be done at the local municipal level or at the state level. So uh, the member of parliament is a representative whose job is to write laws as your representative in the country, right? But despite that, the member of parliament is laden with requests from the constituents to address minor issues like building a gymnasium, like building, there have been very funny stories that I heard elsewhere that when the member of parliament goes and interacts with the bureaucracy, uh, and they want funds for say a public water tap or something, the bureaucrat tells them, oh well, we do not have funds for public water taps, but you sure can we have funds for building a gymnasium, so it's things like that the politicians lives are very constrained, and you got to cater to your constituents because, well, you need to win elections next time. So I think despite all of what you see, all of what is told, they are very smart people. They have a very intuitive sense about a lot of things, a lot of issues, a lot of policies that you might think you are right on, and they do a really good job in the parliament, considering all of the constraints that they are under.
I want to add to that with just a very quick thing. Even for the members of parliament that you would think are not efficient, are not active in the media, are not active in the parliament, have not spoken on a single debate for a long time, even amongst those members of parliament, if you go to their office on a daily basis, they have written at least 5 letters to different ministries asking for either support or clearance or status on different projects of their constituency on a daily basis. They have fielded at least 100 to 200 calls across their entire office system on different constituents, calling them up for different issues. Someone passed away, didn't have an ambulance. Someone got struck by lightning. Someone's house was flooded. There was a snake in someone's village, and there was a big issue there. Oh, all sorts of issues. And the number of people, because we were sitting in Delhi, who would come saying, please help us get admission into AIMS, please help us get admission into Safdarjung Hospital, please help my child get admission into Kendra Vidyalaya. And these were not easy decisions. There were limitations for an MP even to do that. We would think that there's this popular Hindi dialogue from some TV series, right? Chacha Vidhayak hai. वो विधायक जी ज्यादा कुछ कर नहीं सकते हैं. It's not like they can do a lot, but they were still doing to the best of their ability. And I've seen them personally getting distressed when they were not able to help the constituents out. So the hidden side of a member of parliament is that most member of parliaments are actually working very, very seriously and diligently for their constituents on ground.
Yeah. I would just add one sentence to that, which is that is not their job, actually. A lot of the issues that people come to the members of parliament, it's not the members of parliament job to actually look after that. So
I think we do have two other people who have raised their hands. Uh, Mr. Sridhar and Mr. Madhav.
So, Madhav, would you want to go ahead, or can I speak now? Can I ask my question?
Yeah, go ahead, Sridhar. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, my question is that there are so many areas in the area of policy making where people who are not LAM fellows might want to suggest to the honorable MPs that a particular piece of legislation be taken up for the interest of the sector that is they're expert at. So, what would be your suggestion to approach these MPs, or how do we approach these MPs and tell them that this is a desirable piece of legislation that can be taken up as a private member bill?
I can take that one, or
yeah,
Vedant, do you want to?
no.
So actually, there's a even because for an MP also the number of requests that they get like that is very high. And private member bill may not necessarily be the most sort of effective way to go about it because they very rarely get discussed. There are a lot of areas of policy making for which we would get weekly or monthly requests by industry federations, by collective groups, organized citizen groups. So I think the power of collective organization is true even at this level where MPs get more incentivized when you have more people pitching for a particular issue, or more sort of senior collective, like a trade federation or a student teachers association pitching for certain issues.
Yeah, but if the party is not interested in that line, then how does which type of bill would be put into parliament?
Actually, think of it as a negative list. It is, the party will say what issues they will absolutely not let you touch. Other than that, even if the party is not interested, MPs are on a daily basis following up on a whole host of topics that we don't hear about. The MP that I was working with was talking about aviation and aerosports policy in parallel to ecotourism policy, and these matters never came to the parliament at all, or to the media at all, while we were working together. There was just parallel work happening silently on aerosports, on clarifying what are the rules and the laws, and we needed a new policy and a bill. And we managed to push all of that through over a course of 3 years. But that never came out in the media because it wasn't of media interest. The party never said no. The party didn't officially take it up either, but the MPs did, and it worked.
So it also helps to find an MP who's actually
Influential.
has an inclination or affinity to the issue. That's a hard find, but like if you go through, Lamb also gives you that experience, I think. But it's really to find an MP who's also interested in that issue to take it up.
I think we can take one final question from Mr. Madhav.
Yeah, yes. Thanks, Ishaan and Vedant, for your insights. So, see, my question was somewhere just starting off from where Gadi ended, right? So, Vedant was saying how in a family of four, it's so tough to get a single opinion. Imagine a country of 150 crore people, right? And sadly now, because of social media, and you know the ability to just amplify your voice and opinion, we've somewhere become a country because of these two reasons, where we are just opinionating more than doers, right? As you say, just being an armchair analyst, right? It's easy to speak, right? But then to go practically do, as both of you were saying, being an MP, even despite the position, there's little you can do about it, right? So how do we channelize or structure the whole youth, that to this whole demographic dividend, to ensure it doesn't go into a negative path, right? How do we ensure we channel people's opinions to actually making them do something rather than just say, and increase the angst and negativity in the country? Like, where do you think is the sweet spot? I mean, it's easy to speak, right? Anyone can speak, but somewhere we need to channelize the whole thing into something more fruitful and effortful. I'm just thinking aloud here, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a very hard challenge to, in a radically networked society, to influence the lives of and the opinions of so many and channel them. Uh, I, I I do not know. It's an outcome, or it's a thing that we have to just live with. What I make a personal effort to do is, in my personal interaction, actually not lead everything to a debate. Not everything has to be about a debate. Uh, maybe maybe the people that you pursue or your circle of influence really you avoid being that person. So it's very hard for a population to change the opinion of a population of 150 crores. That it's virtually impossible. Or even if you just take the demographic that you are referring to, the youth, right? People have their opinions. They come from different circumstances. We ought to just have forums where we constructively, and have modes of debate that are more constructive than what we usually have. That's my answer. But frankly, there is it's a very hard question to answer.
No, definitely an extremely difficult question on that one. I think it's a question that even policymakers fret with on a daily basis. But the platforms, I think, as long as there is sufficient platforms for dialogue, a lot of this youth channelization does happen. If you look at cities like Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai, civic activism is actually very, very high, because the youth raise their voice. There are platforms where you can reach out to members of parliament or other people in positions of power and get work done. In other parts of the countries, it's rather weak. But I would definitely say that in the 6 years it's been since I entered LAMP Fellowship and today, um, we've already had a lot more dialogue and discussion and informal platforms to catalyze youth and sort of the Gen Z kind of viewpoints and sentiment, understand what they are feeling, see how you can best respond to them a lot better than with what we were doing earlier when I had just entered LAMP Fellowship.
I might just add a final point to that. I mean, as much as you think, you want the society is really comprised, or any society in the world is really comprised of three components, which is your market, state, and the community. Samaj, Sarkar, and Bazaar. I think communities themselves have a large role to play, whether it is in your individual capacity. In India, the social capital really transmits when communities interact. Otherwise, we are just fragmented bits and pieces that you come to appreciate later. A lot of countries are very homogeneous, and then you suddenly realize India is these different pockets of different communities who have different ideologies and different on multiple aspects. So communities themselves, and if you read the preamble to the Constitution, this is my favorite part. uh, Dr. Ambedkar actually wrote that it is the one thing that will ensure the integrity and unity of the nation is fraternity. So everybody talks about liberty and justice, but he has a very important point over there, and he says, to ensure to all this, I cannot quote it verbatim, but he says it's fraternity that will get us unity and integrity of the nation. So I think communities in your individual scale are the best places to go, and communities interacting with each other is how you can amplify and compound the effect of your own view and put your persuasion.
Sure, Ishaan, Vedant. I mean, only my this final note of context there was right. As they say in India, there's political freedom, but someone like China, you don't have political freedom, but you have economic freedom, right? In India, you don't have economic freedom, but you have political freedom. Somewhere, that whole economic empowerment there, and for us still not there. I think it's still causing some cognizance on, I mean, doing versus speaking, right, or just opinionating. So just trying to see how I mean, as LAMP fellows and also the whole ecosystem you're part of, you can somehow bridge the gap. Anyway, just me thinking aloud. Yeah.
Thank you for the question, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was really very grounded answers that and even the questions were quite thought provoking actually. Actually, even like for me on a personal basis, where I am also researching at the minute, it actually throws open a lot of things. I quickly had to jot down many of points. But anyways, I think it's been like amazing, brilliant session, and our hour has flown by really fast, is what I think. But Vedant and Ishaan, there's been brilliant conversation, and the honesty and the passion you've shared, about your journeys are genuinely very inspiring. So, any other questions? You can always, for the audience, any other questions, you can always reach out to Manoj. So, we have an email wherein you can write your questions to, and we will get the answers for them. But coming to the close of the session, you know, again getting back to Vedant and Ishan, you've even just shown that isn't just a subject. It's a field where young people can actually make a real and tangible impact. So truly demystified this experience and shown us that the path from classroom to a parliament, while challenging, is also deeply rewarding. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing all these experiences, and preparing for this whole session was in fact really amazing for the whole team as such. And I'm very sure people involved here also appreciate that. So finally, to our audience, your presence today shows us a growing interest amongst the young people in the nation building. And we hope this session has fueled this passion for you to explore these kind of fellowships further. And you can find more detailed information, I'm very sure, on the website. And you can go through what is the opening time of this fellowship? Can you just every year?
Set with January. I think it opens around December or Jan.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So, you can look up more about this fellowship online, and any other kind of fellowships that you might come across. Please do share it across in the group, and we would be more than happy to engage further in case you have any more things to add. And a final and a sincere thank you to our organizers for their hard work and putting in this together, and for creating a platform that brings these important discussions to a wider audience. And that's all we have for today. And thank you so much for for all, this whole session. And I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Ashish.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks
Thank you so
everyone for
much.
joining
Thank
us.
you, Ishaan. It was a pleasure. Yeah.